Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and welcome. It's Nurse Richard, the Wax Wizard. I forgot who I was then. Have a look at this. I'm going to show you the after of this. Really bizarre erosion in this chap's ear. It's left this little triangular erosion, most likely from either a previous cholesteatoma or the one I've just removed now. And if that wasn't enough, we found more than likely another cholesteatoma in the other ear. As you can see there, keratin plug and bone there, basically. I've never seen it in two before. Certainly, I've never seen one that shape before. It's really odd on the floor of the ear canal, right near the eardrum. Really bizarre triangular erosion. Obviously, it's been sent straight through for an ENT referral. This gentleman. No, he didn't have any significant history. I've never seen him before. I know he has had this done before, not with myself. So whether those erosions were there before, I just not seen. I couldn't tell you. I'm not entirely sure. But it was quite an incredible finding. I've not seen one like that before. You know, when you talk about cholesteatomas and bone erosions, you know there is some areas that you get them in quite commonly. For cholesteatoma, it's most likely you can get them in the attic region, the top portion of the eardrum, where you get these retraction pockets, and a lot of your regulars will know that. But to get one down there, I've not seen. I've shown it to some other specialists who have seen those a few times, but it's certainly not common around in my neck of the woods anyway. Whether there's something, I do seem to find a lot of these. And when I speak to some of my colleagues, it kind of seems a little bit disproportionate. I don't know whether there's any science in different parts of the country or different parts of the world where you find these things. I don't know. I've not read any research papers on it where the prevalence of it in certain areas. And I suppose the health of that specific area would have something to do with it. You know, some areas, particular demographics might be less likely to seek out medical attention, so you might find more in there.
You can see what looks like a tiny little,
but whether it's just a weird anomaly that seems to have a lot of these coming through the door, I don't know. But I'm glad he did, as was he. He was over the moon, to say the least, because obviously the biggest problem he had was he couldn't hear a thing, hardly anything at all. Certainly not through this one, but the other one was not quite as blocked up. But it was an extremely difficult removal because it was so hard. It's hardened up keratin. So I've gone in with the rosin insert here. And it did work to some extent, but it's clearly anchored on deep below. Now I didn't know what was behind it at this point. And it's probably, you know, it could well be anchored in that hole, in that little triangular hole, in that erosion there. But there was a big old beast this when it came out. No, it just flicked off the end of that. But the rosin inserter did its job there. It certainly brought it a bit further forward. But I wasn't able to give it as much of a wriggle and a shake as I would like to. So that's why I've gone back to the suction. Because if you wriggle and shake the rosin inserter, it just comes. It can either just break off or just snap through. You get a decent grip, but I feel it. The only way I was going to get this out was by, as you can see what I'm doing there, a good old violent wriggle. And that's difficult to do and a bit dangerous with a little sharp tool. And as you can see, it's worked. I've got some images of these afterwards, I think. And yeah, he came with his wife who was watching it on the screen as well, as was he, like, engrossed in it, staring at it, as most do. Because as I've told a lot of you before, the procedure is done on the, where is it? There you go, got the endoscope like this, and then I found an app what can cast the images from the endoscope wirelessly to a screen, like a big 36-inch telly. Next to me, so the patients can watch what I'm doing. So I do tend to, people ask, well, why would you do that? It does help I find patients to keep still if they can see what I'm doing and they can see how delicate the procedure is. And they're also really interested. It's really curious. It's the inside of their ear. Why wouldn't you want to watch it? I've only met a couple who didn't want it, who saw it on the screen and then wanted me to switch it off, which is fine. It's not for everybody. But most are interested. But the main reason why I leave it on is because I want people to understand sometimes why it takes longer than others. If it's a particularly difficult procedure that's lasting quite a long time, if you didn't know what was going on or you couldn't see what was going on, you might just get a bit impatient. Oh, why is it taking so long? You know, this should be easy. This last time I had it done, it took 2 minutes or something, which some procedures do. Something like this are a bit more difficult, so it helps them to be a bit more patient. I tend to find patience. So like I said, it helps them to keep really still because they can see what I'm doing is delicate work. Speaking of delicate work, just trying to peel this away from the side, so it's quite dried and caked on this. So I suspect what's happened here is it's a failure of all this skin to migrate, because you can see the fresher layer of skin underneath that, can't you? And why it's doing that, I don't know, but I could already see there's a bit of skin in the way. I'm going to get rid of that in a second, but I'm having a look at that and thinking, what the is going on there? Really bizarre. It almost makes it look like there's an eardrum and then there's like a bridge going across it, but that is the floor of the ear canal, and it's just kind of eroded down underneath it. I don't think it's gone past where the eardrum is. I don't think. I think only a scan would be able to fully understand just how deep that's gone. It might well be the case that doesn't need any further intervention with this, as is quite often the case, because there's no obvious infection there. When it's cleaned out, it's nice and clean. It might just be the case that we need to make sure we clear it out quite frequently. So there it is. Bizarre, really bizarre. And I've seen a few other specialist videos. I've not seen one that's got these triangular cavity right there. Now whereabouts the floor of the ear canal was before that, I don't know. Whether it just went off down there and then dipped down there, or is the whole thing is eroded, then it's from skin back. I have no idea. Like I said, I've never seen it before, so it's difficult when you've got no frame of reference. You don't know what it looked like before, so you're kind of guessing. But it's lovely and clean after that. And here's the second one. Now it does look a bit blurry, this to start with. There's a few hairs where I had to hold the endoscope. It does get a bit clearer. I just lifted that up from the base of the ear canal, and I was just as surprised as to what we found in this one too. So because we found in both, it is more than likely to do with a failure of the skin to migrate out of the ear. Not been poking anything in, so he said. And so when the skin's just building up in there, it can put a bit of pressure on specific area in the ear canal, and the skin can kind of ulcerate and it can start burying into it. And that's more than likely what's happened in both. But the one we found in this, probably the early stages of a canal cholesteatoma, which are not very common. So it's good to spot them early. I know they will probably do a scan for this chap too, to make sure that there's no other damage where we can't see, because you can only see so much whilst it's a good images you get with these endoscopes. There's only so much you can see, so we need to know what's going on the other side of that. And again, this one's taking a bit of persuading as well. Bit stickier, this one. Now I didn't really want to put any oil in either, because it can obstruct the view, but also with what we found in the other one, I didn't want to go pouring any kind of drops or anything, just in case there's something similar or worse in this one. And I'll be honest, I didn't spot it at first. It's actually just underneath where the suction tube is now. And I didn't see it. It was only after I peeled this bit away. And then I had a good look around that I spotted this area that you're going to see underneath it. And as soon as you touch it with the, there it is. As soon as you touch it, already my suspicions are aroused. Excuse me. Because it's quite soggy around it. The skin is quite white, which can mean quite macerated, you know. So how much of that is exposed bone, and how much is the skin, keratin? Not entirely sure, but as soon as you touch it, I know I've heard someone else, I think it was Connor, I think, described it as like rubbing something over a brick. There's that sensation that you get when you touch this stuff, when you start with hardened keratin and bone, and it's, yeah, you just know as soon as you touch that what's going on. It's not impossible as well to think that it could be like a osteonecrosis. I think that's less likely. That's where just the skin ulcerates and the bone kind of crumbles because there's a poor blood supply to that particular area. I think that's less likely. Again, like I said before, it's not my job to diagnose these things. I can point them in the in the direction I think, but ultimately, it's up to the ENT, the consultants and doctors to formally say what they think's going on here. But I'm pretty sure they might well scan, and then after that they'll just say, just make sure you keep on top of that. Don't let it get out of hand. So I think it had been a good few years, I want to say at least 3 or 4 years since he'd had this done. Yeah, this last bit of the base of the ear canal here was a bit tricky, but I wanted to get as much as I possibly could, safely anyway, because of what we found in the other ear. You know, this was a similar region where we found that bizarre triangular piece, that erosion. But it's very sticky stuff. It is tricky. This is the finding tube, if you haven't already figured out. I think he was chattering away a bit as well sometimes during this procedure, which is fine. I don't mind. Sometimes I do have to tell people just to be quiet because obviously it makes everything move. You know, as they move, the jaw moves and the whole head moves. I don't have to tell them just pipe down a little bit sometimes. His wife was having a good chat as well. She was watching this on the screen. She was fascinated, you know. I'm just going to just run the tube over it again just to double check that there's no loose bits that need to come away, and just to reconfirm my suspicions really as to what's going on there. And let's get some images afterwards of the plugs, which I think are coming up any second now. There they are. Remember to get some pictures of it this time. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Found it interesting. I certainly found it interesting. It was a bizarre day in clinic that I found a lot of weird and wonderful things, which you'll see on some videos coming up soon. But anyway, for now, take care of yourself, and I'll see you soon. Ta-da.